Hello everyone, welcome back to another Navigating BrickLink video. I've had a few questions on what exactly you can do with stockrooms as well as retained items and what that exactly means, as well as bulk pricing. So I figured I'd go over some of that in today's video, specifically after the parts have already been uploaded to your inventory. Now most of what I'm going to show you is the same on the upload page, meaning you can easily adjust this while you're adding your parts instead of having to do it after the fact. But for now, we're going to start out by going to the upper right button, or the upper right option where the My Store option is. And we're going to go into our inventory because we're already going to edit some items that we currently have. And we're going to scroll down a little bit. We'll go into the brick category because we have a lot of different parts in the brick category. And now I'm able to explain what some of these options are. So first of all, this is, your kind of standard listing. This is what it looks like after it has been listed on your store. So, you'll have the image of whatever the item is, you'll have a description, which generally starts with the color and then the type of piece and then the size and stuff, and then it may say modified and have everything else after that. But in this case, it's a black 1x1 brick. Right underneath that is a comment section. Now, if we want to type something into this comment section, such as, maybe this is a used piece, we can say great condition, or we can say scratched on one side, or whatever it might be, or we can say bulk pricing available, or whatever it might be. You can type this into this section, and this will be available for buyers. They will actually see this. Different from the My Remarks section. So this is the comment section. People can see this when they're browsing through your store. The My Remarks section is solely for you as the seller. There's nothing that you can actually type in here that your buyer will see. So a great use for this, and what we use it for, and I think what pretty much everyone on BrickLink uses it for, is where we store our parts. So in this case, it's in drawer 806, and that's where this part is. You can see we have a quantity of 8 of those in drawer 806. So if I go head over to drawer 806, we'll find 8 of those there. But this is the My Remarks section, meaning this is only for me as the seller, not for the buyer. Now, if we head over here to the right side, this is where it's going to start getting a little bit different. Obviously, you have your quantity section. You can type in there, you can change it to however many quantity you actually have. Your price you can change. Now, something not always known is that you can click the price button, and a little price guide will pop up. And usually it's opened in a new tab, but if we click here now, there we go. Oh, you can see that we have, the black brick, and we can see the price guide here and stuff. Last 6 months sales, here's the new information, here's the used, current items for sale. So we can see all of the information there if we click that price guide button. Now, keep in mind, if you do click this price button here, it'll open the price guide in this same window. The only way to open it is if you hold down Control or Command, depending on if you're on a Windows or a Mac. If you're on Windows, hold down Control. If you're on a Mac, hold down Command. It'll open in a new tab, and you can view that price information there. And then obviously you can update this however you feel that you need to. Now, this My Cost section will only be available to you if you've turned it on. Now, I'll show you how to turn it on really quickly. You go to the My Store tab, hover over Settings, click on the Settings button, and then on the left side, you're going to click the Management tab. And then you're going to scroll pretty close to the bottom underneath this Store and Inventory options, and then the Inventory section of that. And you want to turn on Enabled My Cost Input field. And this will help you to have that field there. So I'm going to go head back to that inventory page really quickly. And then what we can do with this My Cost section is if, for example, I know that this piece, when I purchased it, cost 1 cent, I can say this piece is worth 1 cent or cost me 1 cent. Now I'm selling it for 9.3 cents or just over 9 cents, meaning I'm making over an 8-cent profit on that piece. And BrickLink on the inventory page or on the the order pages will actually go through and figure out how much kind of profit you're making, and you're able to figure out what profit you're making versus what you purchased it from. Obviously, this doesn't count your labor or your other expenses such as drawers and stuff like that, but you could see the price difference between your cost for the piece itself and the price that you are selling it for. So in this case, we don't have all of our costs tracked with something we're working on at the moment though, but you do have that option for that field if you want. You just have to turn it on in the settings. Now over here, and I know I said it's where it gets confusing, but this is actually where it could potentially get confusing. This bulk area specifically means this is how many you're going to sell at a time. So let's say, for example, you have 500 of these 1x1 bricks and you only want to sell them in quantities of 10. Then you would change this bulk pricing to a quantity of 10, for example. And now that that's quantity of 10, people have to order that in a quantity of 10, meaning they can order 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, 120, but not 25, not 32. It needs to be a multiple of 10. So bulk pricing is pretty nice, obviously, as long as you, or especially if you have very large amounts of pieces, or maybe you pre-bagged your parts. You have them in bags of 100, so you don't have to count them. You can just make the bulk pricing 100, or the bulk amount set to 100, so people will order a quantity of 100 of that part. Now, right underneath that is the percentage off, obviously, just as you'd expect. This is a sale price. So, for example, if we want to put this piece at 10% off right now, we can set it to 10. And now, as long as we scroll to the bottom of this and click Submit Changes, we will have this part be on sale at 10% off. Now, right underneath that, or right below that, I'm going to make sure that's not 10% off, is the condition. Now, condition can be new or used. So in this case, it is N, which is new. And if you change that to a U, that would be used. So this, for the most part, you shouldn't have to manually change this. This is something you should, in theory, be changing or setting while you're uploading your parts initially. But potentially, you could need to change this if you make a mistake or something, for example. But in this case, ours is new. If it was used, you would see a U there for a used piece. And over here is our tiered pricing. Now, what this essentially means is we can give discounts based on how many pieces are being purchased. Or I even think you could probably increase the price depending if people are purchasing more of something. So if we want to start with a tiered pricing here, we can say if you buy one of them, it's going to be the normal amount of 0.9 or 9.3 cents. But if you order 4 of them, it is now only 8 cents. And if you order all 8 of them, it is only 7 cents. So that's how that works essentially. It's tiered pricing in terms of the more you buy, you can sell them for lower prices or something. And then obviously if you order 5 of them, they're going to be at this price of 8 cents because it's above the 4. Yeah, that was correct. It's above the 4. A quantity of 5, but it's underneath the 8 still, so it's not a quantity of 7. But this potentially could get you to increase your sales in terms of how many people are ordering. They might want to order more because you're kind of offering a little deal on it. Or it may encourage people to order all of them. So for example, if we put one tier pricing of 8, meaning if they buy all 8 of them, they're only 7 cents, and we take away 1 and 4, then now, instead of us just selling 7 of these, they might as well get that 8th one, because once they purchase that last one, they actually technically get even a couple free parts in this, if that kind of makes sense, depending on how the math works out between your tier pricing. This is something you usually would need to go do individually per piece, primarily because the quantities when you're uploading new sets are going to be totally different for each piece in that set. But tiered pricing is nice if you're trying to give, your buyers some potential deal or something as you are, kind of trying to get rid of parts in your store potentially, or you're just trying to increase the amount of sales or quantity in your sales whenever you're selling your parts in your store. Underneath this is a little reserved for section. This is essentially if, for example, I wanted to save this specific piece for a certain user or a certain buyer. I can type in their username here, and they are the only people who will be able to purchase this piece on your store. Others will not have access to or be able to physically purchase this piece. Only that person whose username is typed into this field here. You just want to make sure you get the username absolutely perfect in this field. Just as with a coupon or something, you want to make sure it is proper. Now over here is some of where I've had questions on. We'll start with retain. Essentially, retain means, if it's unchecked, that when we sell out of this piece, it just disappears from our inventory. If we check this retain box right now, and we sell 8 of these pieces, we will have 0 in our inventory. But instead of deleting this whole listing, it'll keep it. But it'll now have a quantity of 0. So it's not able to be purchased because we obviously don't have any, but it does retain it in our inventory. So this, for example, could be useful if you need it to keep all your listings in your store and you don't want things to disappear, and you want to make sure you have special prices that are laid out and you keep all the settings for this specific piece. And then when you go to add more pieces, it'll say, hey, you have this piece in your inventory, even though you don't have any of this piece, but it sees the listing. So it'll warn you, and then you can go change the quantity to, for example, 8 if you're adding 8 to your inventory. We generally leave retain off just because it fills up our inventory sometimes, making it look like we have a lot more than we actually do, specifically because it'll say quantity of 0. Now underneath this we have a stockroom button, and this is nice because you have the ability to put it in four places, I guess, technically, during your inventory. You can have it live on your storefront, which is where it is when your stockroom button is not checked, or you can put it in one of 3 stockrooms. So if you click this, you can put it in stockroom A, B, or C. Now if we put it in stockroom A, for example, buyers are not able to purchase this. It is kind of in the back room. If you think of a stockroom of a physical like brick and mortar store, the stockroom's in the back. The customers can't go back there. So we can essentially organize parts before we make them live in our store if we want to. And again, you have 3 options here, stockroom A, B, or C. I do believe there is a setting you have to turn on, but I think it's default turned on, that you get all 3 stockrooms. I could be incorrect on that, but you'll have stockroom A, B, and C. So if you want to save this piece, for example, stick it in the stockroom, you're able to do that, for example. What we did is one time I dropped a couple drawers. Instead of recounting right away, because I was actually in the process of leaving the store, real quickly I jumped into our inventory and I put those drawers in the stockroom just so no one could purchase them, but they were still in our inventory. And then when I had time to actually count them, then I removed them from the stockroom just to make sure I had all the parts still in those drawers. And the last option underneath stockroom here is the delete option. If you check this box and then click submit changes at the bottom of the page, it'll totally delete this listing and get rid of it, and that will be it. It'll be gone forever. You can then re-add the piece if you need to, but as far as I can tell, there's no way of getting that part back. Hopefully this video was helpful a little bit to kind of explain bulk pricing, tiered pricing, how you can reserve things, retain things, and use stockrooms. If it was helpful, consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you all in the next video.